for this. Our Lord, we thank you for this moment. And please be with us and help us to hear, understand, and be our guide. Today, Lord, in His name we thank you. Amen. Amen. Greetings, Church of God.
Amen.
I'm not blessed to have a very loud voice, so I'll ask to lower my mask a bit so you can hear me. Yes, hello, Northern Church. It is my first time coming on the side here in Northern Church. It's not familiar territory for me. I believe that's why I'm around for myself. You should pray for me. We are learning this morning about signs of the time and emerging issues. I will also continue on the theme. I will look at a few emerging issues as we continue exploring the science. Ellen White in the book last day events as she picks quotation from testimonies to ministries and gospel workers. She says there is a need of a much closer study of the Word of God. Especially should Daniel and Revelation have attention as never before. She continues to say the unfulfilled predictions of the book of Revelations are soon to be fulfilled. Says this prophecy is now to be studied with diligence by the people of God. And says and should be clearly understood It does not conceal the truth. It clearly forewarns, telling us what will be in the future. Therefore, Church of God will pick one prophecy in the book of Revelations. It was given to John. We will study it. And in the end, I believe we will see what time we live in. And may I tell you, church, that this is just an introduction to this study. I hope that when we are done, you go home, go an extra mile and study for yourself. So you can learn for yourself, appreciate and see what time you live in. I will be looking particularly from verse 11 to verse 18. And Revelation chapter 13 verse 11 opens by saying, Then I saw a second beast coming out of earth. He had two horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. And for a recap for what has happened before the second beast emerged, we are told that first there appeared one beast from the water. And one interesting thing about this beast, and that's constantly repeated as you study the book of Revelation from 1 to 10, is how it spoke blasphemous about about God's way.
Memo we ipueletsang ka sebatana se go simologa yala go temaneng tsa ntlha ke go ke ditlhapa matlhapa a e leng gore se ipueletsa magoko a teng se roga modimo.
And Bible scholars will indicate that this beast was representing the Papal Roman Empire.
Me baithuti ba lokolo ba tla go bolela ba tla go ruta jalo gore sebatana se se emetse ya le puso yone ya se bopapa.
And for the time it reigned, it persecuted God's children.
Me kana go e neng go se busa se ne se go kgontsha batho ba modimo.
If you study well the book of Greek controversy,
ga o ithuta jalo lekwalo la tshukasukano e kgolo
in one of the martyrs,
o lebeletse lengwe la dikgang ehe ba ne ba mongwe wa ba neng ba bolawa.
It says whenever you went against this empire
gate go nako le nako ga e le gore o leba o tlhabana jalo le yone puso
and its religious laws,
le melao ya yone go teng ke a sedumedi,
you are bound to be slaughtered or killed.
o ne o lebagana jalo le leso.
They were so cruel that they did not have regard for human life.
Ba ne ba sena nako le botshelo jwa setho,
Yet they were a religious law.
mme go te ke tumelo.
But we are then told that for a time this beast was wounded.
Mme ra bolelwa gore ka nako nne sa go bala sebatana se,
That's why there emerged the second beast.
ke gone mo e re ga se go bala be go tlhagoga sa bobedi.
If you go down history around 1778,
ga o ithuta ditso jalo go tsamaya ka ngwaga tsa bo 1778 bo
yes, this
79,
beast was wounded as the Pope Pius IV was captured.
gate sebatana se se ne se go beetse jaaka puso ya sepapa e ne e tshwere.
Pope Pius the fourth was captured.
Mopapa wa bone o ne a
He
tshwere,
was captured by the French army under Napoleon Bonaparte.
a tshwere jalo ke sesole sa sefora ka ga tlase ga kgosi ka moeteledipele wa leina leo.
And in 1790, the Pope died.
Ka ngwaga wa 1719 mopapa eno a
That's the
tlhokagala.
wound that has been told about in this book.
Ke sone sebatana se re bolelwang ka sone se.
But we are told there emerged a second beast, which from earth,
Gate ga tlhagoga sebatana sa bobedi anong go tswa mo lehatsheng.
and he had two horns like a lamb.
Gate se na le dinaka tse pedi e ka re ke konyana.
And when it spoke like the dragon.
Gate mme go bua ga sone sebatana se se bua jaaka kgorela.
This will be our focus of study today, church.
Yaanong go gone ga re tla bo re lebagane le molaetsa wa gompieno gone.
And may I indicate that this is not a hate speech towards any power that is at hand now.
Mme o itse jalo gore thuto e ga se go supa kilo mo pusong e be e ka tswang e busa.
But it's just to highlight and show us and warn us of the times that we are
Mme
living
ke
in.
go tshwaela hela gore tsamaya ga pusong e bile e supa nako mang.
Yes, from Revelation chapter 17 verse 15, we know that when a beast that emerged from the waters represented an area where it was highly populated.
Ha re tsana mo tshenolokgaolo ya lesome le metso e supa, sebatana se se tlhagoga mo metsing se gate metsi a supa legelo le leng gore le ne le tletse.
Therefore, we can say that the earth would represent a beast that emerged from a place that was less populated.
Jaanong re ka bua jalo gore lehatshe le ne le emetse ka tikologo e leng gore e ne e se gore e tletse thata.
And the two horns that were told to be like horns of a lamb.
Jaanong dinaka tse pedi tse go teng di ne di tshwana le dinaka tsa konyana tse.
Also one interesting feature here.
Ke dingwe tsa tse di kgatlhang dikai tse di kgatlhang.
Observe that whenever a lamb is introduced in the Bible, it's always for something good.
O itse jalo gore gongwe le gongwe ga kopana le leina la kwana teng mo Baebeleng le tlhagisediwa go sengwe se se molemo.
Therefore, this beast emerged and it seemed to have good intentions.
Jaanong sebatana se go tlhageng ga sone ka popego ya kwana go raya gore sologela dilo tse di molemo.
But lo and behold, when it spoke like a dragon.
Mme bonang ka maswabi ga e bua jaaka kgogela.
Scholars indicate that the second beast represents in power the United States of America.
Jaanong baithuti ba dikolo ba go ruta jalo gore sone sebatana se sa bobedi se emetse puso ya se America.
In 1777, the American Empire gained its independence.
Gate ka ngwaga wa 1777 puso ya America ya tsaya puso jwa
So we
yone.
are 1776 around June.
Ka tota ke ngwaga wa 1776 ka kgwedi ya
And
bojune
the
gone
population around that time was around 1650. It was around 6 million.
Gate palo ya bone ka nako a teng ba ne ba tsamaya go le gongwe ga go 6 million.
Mind you, in Europe, where the first beast emerged, the population was around 90 million.
mme o gakologa o itse jalo gore go Europe go se batana sa ntla se tlhagogileng teng palo ya batho ne e tsamaya go 90 million.
Therefore, the first box ticks, it grows from an area of which was less populated. The first box ticks.
No re ka tshwale go le bokoso la ntlha le gore go tshimologo ya dilo tikologo ya teng e sa tlala.
Yes, and the second part is the part that says it had 2 horns like a lamb.
The
American state was founded on 2 principles.
It was
founded on the principles of civil and religious liberty. In other words, you are free to express yourself. And you're also free to worship. Those were the two principles that America was founded on. In its inception as a world power it seems like it was good as it started. But the Bible continues to say when it spoke like a dragon. It gained its independence in 1776. In 1790, already 13 of its colonies had changed its institution and aligned it with America's constitution.
1790.
And this is the power that right now we see controlling the world. And observe something about this beast. It is not mentioned that it had a crown. So there was no leader, if I should say, when America was founded. There was no king or a religious leader, i.e. the Pope, as you know. They were solely founded on those 2 principles that you were free to express yourself. You were free able to worship when and how you please. Let's continue reading verse 12. It says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused up the earth and them which dwelt there to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Verse 12.
Yare misa di haka taolo yotle ya sebatana sa pele mo ponong ya sone. Misi patelela le hatse le ba agile mo go yone gore ba ba mele sebatana sa pele se gore nwa ga sona ga loso go no go godile.
We are talking about signs of the time and emerging issues. This state or this power that was founded on good principles, it started now to inherit the principles of the first beast.
Remember,
the first beast was oppressing power which spoke blasphemous. Now the second beast was also practicing this authority. The first beast made a good impression, and he tried by so means to try and change God's law. And if I pick one particular example nowadays, the one law which has changed the law of marriage, which says a man and a woman would marry. We see this American power trying to change this law now to say, okay, it's fine, a man and a man can now marry.
mme molao re bona bone ba ile gore ba simologane ba re nyame go siame ano le ga batla go nyala monna o ka nyala monna.
But there is one particular law which America is looking to change.
And
this is our first emerging issue that we'll mention. The law of the Sabbath. You know, the fourth commandment tells us that we should honor and worship on the Sabbath. But we are told that this power is constantly trying to change this law. And if I should tell church, it's not the first time the Sunday law has been tried to change, to be implemented. In 1888 in America, this law was proposed that the Sabbath should be changed to Sunday and everyone should be worshipped on a Sunday. And the writers indicate that it failed to be passed on because the earth wasn't ready, the inhabitants of the earth were not ready for this drastic change. It says for this law to be implemented, there has to be a catalyst which provokes and will speed up the reaction or speed up this law to be implemented. This catalyst may come in the form of a war, a natural disaster, or financial crisis, or even a pandemic. It simply would cause people to shift or give up their liberty to the state and also believe that, you know, in these days all we need is a God or a religious power to guide us through this hardship. And I observe, church, that this catalyst come many and closer nowadays than they did back then. Currently, we know we are in the midst of a pandemic, an outbreak. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but we, to some extent, have gave up our liberty to the state to tell us, no, sit down in your house or be in your house. And this should indicate to you what time we live in. If these catalysts are coming continues to say the wound of the beast is healing or is healed. Current affairs, you know who the strongest or the most powerful man currently is. It is not the president of America or the Queen, but you know the Pope is by far a powerful human being in this planet. Why do I say that? When the president of America is put in power, he goes to the Pope to ask for blessings. Later the Pope then will visit him. And we see now, it now justifies our point where it says this power, it has started to inherit all the authority of the first beast and is executing all the actions of the first beast. Yes, Church of God, and we see also that the churches are united. I remember when I first heard about the Sunday law, I was always relaxed, not because of that I'm a Christian,
But
I always believe that if the Sunday laws we implement, you have to convince the stubborn and hard-headed Islams. So I always relaxed based on that was my conviction or not. For you to reach us, you need to pass by the Arabs. In 2019, around February, the Pope held his first massive mass in Dubai. Look at it. Go check it out. All news outlets indicate and were very pleased, and they also said this is the first and also revolutionary incident, and they believe that the Islams and the Christians are coming together finally. And this unity, Church of God, can only bring trouble to His remnant church. And verse 15 he says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. I believe I've skipped 13. Let's look at 13 before we move to 17 to 14. It says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven and earth in the sight of men. Earlier at Jerusalem School, we learned in Luke 21 verse 7 that Christ also warned about false prophets. And it says here that this beast will be able to perform great wonders, even bring fire from heaven. I believe we live in an era where prophets are emerging from all corners who claim to be able to perform miracles, to heal people, to give people money. And we follow these prophets. Now our prophets in our era are very interesting. In the olden days, prophets used to go to people. And they were given a message to tell the people, they will go to those people. But we live in an era where it's vice versa. I have to pay a hefty ticket price. It's the times that we live in, Church of God. It says deception will be high going towards the end. Revelations 19 verse 20 affirms that false prophets will emerge, as many as possible. And remember when Christ was tempted by the devil, he came or emerged as an angel of light. So the devil is able to present himself towards anyone as someone who, as an angel, if I should say. And be warned that he will deceive many. We talked about giving away our religious liberty. We talked about unifying the churches. Also know that in these last days, our moral compass are the ministers. And it's worrying that we have given them so much power that they can make decisions on our behalf, believing that they are the ones who are right and can lead us forward. But the second issue that I want to mention today is seen in verse 16, 17, and 18. But before we go there, concerning false prophets, remember the book of Isaiah 8 verse 20. Verse 20. And how do we differentiate between those false prophets and those who are good? 8 verse 20 says, to the law and to the testimony, if they do not speak according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
Isaiah 8 verse 20
and who that thought it also have influenced the conclusion of our study today. Verse 16 says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their hand and in their forehead. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that heareth the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Go senne motho ope o ka rekang le ha e le go bapatsa ha e se o na le letshwao e bo leina la sebatana kgotsa palo e leina ya sone kgotsa palo ya leina la sone botlhale kijo ayo na le tlhaloganyo a bale palo ya sebatana gonne ke palo ya motho me palo ya sone ke makgolo a le marataro masome a le marataro le metso e le merataro.
Yes, do you hear the church of God? Do you hear where we are going? This beast that emerged and seemed like they had good intentions. It will change religious laws to a state that you will not buy or sell, save that you have received the mark of the beast. Our second emerging issue is this mark, which has been represented to the number of his name to be 366. 666. I know most of the time when Adventists mention this number, especially on social media, people laugh at us. I don't know if you have noticed. They are called extremists. But it says we will receive. If you want to buy and sell, you have to receive a mark on your forehead or on your wrist. Growing up, every time I heard about this mark, I thought of it as a barcode or a tattoo.
ke ne ke akanya gore go twa gongwe o beilwe setempe kana gate go na le di-chip kana ga teng
that you go somewhere, given that barcode or stamp, so you can go around buying and enjoy the pleasures of this earth.
gore o nne le letshwao la gago hela sekano sa gago se e leng gore ga o ya go reka o tsamaya o sa sikara madi.
After reading the book of Deuteronomy 6,
mme morago ga go ithuta lekwalo la ga Deuteronomy kgaolo ya borata
let's start from verse 6 to verse 8. It says, "And these words which I command thee this day, that shall be in thine heart, that thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them, when thou sittest in thine house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes." Verse 6 to 8.
6 verse 6. Le mafoko a ke a go laolelang gompieno a nne mo pelong ya gago, mme wa rute bana ba gago ka tlhwagalo, o bue ka ga one ga o dutse mo ntlong ya gago, le ga o tsamaya mo tseleng, le ga o rapame, le ga o rapamologa. 2 to 8. Mme o a bohelele mo seatleng sa gago go nna sesupo, mme a nne sebeo sa gagare ga matlho a gago.
We're talking about the commandments here.
Re bua ka ditaologa.
It says you should write them in your hand.
Gate o di kwalwe mo letsogong la gago.
Put them as frontlets between your eyes.
O di beye e le sesupo gagare ga matlho a gago.
I don't entirely believe that God is asking us to have all those 10 commandments plugged in our foreheads.
Ga ke dumele gore modimo o ra gore tsamaye re ngaparisitse melao e lesome mo matlhong
Or
a
in our
rona
wrists.
kana mo diatleng tsa rona.
I believe that when God says we should bind them in our hands,
Ke dumela gore modimo ha re di bohelele mo diatleng tsa
it means that
rona.
whatever we do with our hands, whatever action we take,
Sepe seo se amang ka diatla tsa gago tirong o e behela
should be under the confound of God's law.
e nne e ka ga tlase ga dingwe ya ditaolo tse tsa
When
modimo.
it speaks about cracking them between our foreheads,
Ga o bua ka go nna ga gare ga matlho a
it
gago
means that whatever thought we process,
gore ka kabonyo nngwe le nngwe e o tlhatlhamang ka yone
it should be around the confounds of God's
ga
law.
be e le ka go dikologa mo melemo ya modimo e lesome e.
Now think about it.
Yaanong a ka nyase
What if this mark is not literally a tattoo or a barcode?
yaanong ana letshwao le keng ga e le gore ga se sekano ga se setempe ga
What if
se
receiving the mark of the beast is simply you denying or saying no to God's law? Saying no to God's law.
gate gore letshwao le ke go gana gore nnyaa go molaong wa modimo
And accepting the law of the beast.
a bua mogela jalo molao wa sebatana.
What if accepting this mark of the beast is you simply, for example, saying, I will not worship on a Sabbath, I will intend worship on a Sunday so I can buy and I can enjoy certain privileges.
A ka nyase ga e le gore molao o ke go wena gore nnyaa nna ke tla seke o ba me ka sabata ke tla ba maka swanta gore ke kgone ke nne le tshiamelo ya go reka le ba bangwe.
If God says we should bind His law in our hands as a wristband,
modimo ga re bohelele mo diatleng tsa rona jaaka sekao
meaning that we should do everything according to His law.
a re dire sengwe le sengwe go ya ka taolo tsa gago.
What if God says all our thoughts and all everything that passes through our minds should be in line with His law?
ga e le gore modimo o ka ba re sengwe le sengwe se se hetang ka diatla tsa rona kana ka megopolo ya rona e nne mo molaong wa
Now,
gago.
can you say this mark of the beast might actually be just us saying no to His law, all those commandments, saying no to them and receiving the commandments that will be rectified by this beast?
a yaanong ga se gore go se letshwao le ke gone go gana ona molao wa modimo a bo re ee go wa sebatana.
Think about it, church.
Akanya ka se kutego.
It's something that really troubled my mind a lot when I was reading about this.
Ke sengwe se leng gore se ne sa suka-sukana le mogopolo wa me ga ke balase.
And there's also one interesting feature in the Bible that I observed.
gabe go nna le ntlha engwe gape kgatlha mo lekwalong e ke etseng tlhoko
And Daniel chapter 3 and chapter 6.
mo lekwalo la ga Daniel le kgaolo ya boraro le ya
One go
borataro
through each time.
ga ke na go tsamaya le yone ka ntlha ya nako
Have you observed that whenever a religious law is put into place,
o ele tlhoko gore nako le nako ga molao wa sedumedi o be o tsenngwa mo tirisong
what follows is a persecution act.
se se latela morago ga one ke purisego
Daniel 3, as a law was put into place that whosoever hears the sounds, they should worship an image that was created by Nebuchadnezzar.
mo lekwalo la ga Daniel kgaolo ya boraro molao o ne o re ga o utlwa lenaka kana o utlwa modumo o bo itse gore ke nako ya go obamela sebatana setshwantsho se ne se beilwe ke
And when
Nebukadnezar
the 3 Hebrew boys did not follow this law, they were cast into a fiery furnace, which was then turned 7 times more.
yaanong ya re basimanyana ba ba heberwa ba bararo ba sa obamele ba tsewa ba latlhelwa mo mollong o e leng gore o ne o le bogale mme bogale wa teng bo menagangwa ga supa
Also, when Daniel chose not to accept the religious law that was put in place by Darius, he was cast into the lion's den.
Daniel le ne ka mo go tshwanang ya re a ganne go obamela molao o ne o beilwe ke Darius a tsewa a latlhelwa yalo
So
mo
what do you
ditaung
think church is coming for us if this law were to change from a Sabbath to a Sunday and to change other laws are put into place?
yaanong re akanyang phutego gore rona go tla bo go tla eng mo go rona ga e le gore molao o tla fetolwa go tswa ko go sabata go ya ko go tsibi
The book Matthew chapter 24 gave us all the signs that we need to observe.
lekwalo la ga Mathayo 24 le re hile ditshupo tse e le gore tsotlhe re tshwanela ke gore re di ele
And
tlhoko
verse
di
8
lebelele
says that was just the beginning of sorrows.
mme ya re mo ke tshimologo ya mathata ga se
And
pelelo
the book Last Day Event says we are at the brink of crisis.
yaanong lekwalo la ditiragalo tsa metlha bogelo ya re re le hela ga tshimologong ya mathata
As these things were coming, as famines and wars were raging,
ga dintwa mauba gotlhe mo go bosula go
as
simologa
stars
mo
were falling, as morality was declining,
ga dinaledi di bua le setho se wela tlase
Christ said, no, that's just the beginning of sorrows.
keresete ya re ga re ikatleng ga ise re simolole re ko kgorwaneng
Look at look at Earth at the moment. Look at the inhabitants of the Earth.
lebelela lehase lebelela baduli ba lone mo nakong e
I wasn't there in the BCs and AG eras,
ke ne ke seyo ka bo BG le bo DC
but in my view, we are at a point where morality is at its lowest when it comes to the issue of being declined.
mme ke dumela gore mo nakong ya rona re akala thata le batho ba pele mo sethong sa rona re wetse tlase
Morality has
thata
declined to low levels.
re wetse tlase ga ke kry bapisiwa le ope wa ngwaga tse di fetileng
Wars are raging, countries are raging against each other.
mahatshe a lwa a nna hela betsana tsatsi le letsatsi
Every year something comes up.
ngwaga le ngwaga sengwe se sešwa sa tlhago
2012, Russia and America, we believe they were about to be at war.
ngwaga wa 2012 Russia le America di ne di lebagane hela go setse gore go phailwe mmu hela
Last year, America and South Korea, we believe that this is it.
ra bona jalo America jombio le ena e tlhasetse ka
We've seen natural disasters coming closer and in between the periods as never before.
ra bona gone mo nakong yone ya go mana ka dimpama ga mahatshe mo e le gore dipetso tsa ditlholego tsone di tlhasetse
Signs that were mentioned by Christ, almost all, if not all, have come to pass.
ditshupo tse morena a di regileng ga e le gore tsotlhe ga di a heta gongwe go ka nna sala go le gongwe go setse e le nngwe kana tse pedi mme
We're
tsotlhe
just
di
waiting for that announcement that you will not worship by Sabbath.
re emetse kitsiso hela e leng gore e ka nna dira nako nngwe le nngwe gore yaanong ga gona po ba mang ka tsatsi le bese la tsibi
Now the question comes to you, church.
potso beetla ko go wena phutego
Now these prophecies may be scary,
dipolelopele tse di ka tswa gongwe di tshosa
but there's something at the end of each prophecy.
mme go nna go na le sengwe go pheleletsong ya nngwe le nngwe ya diporofeso
There's always an assurance that Christ gives after all this, after telling us and warning us of everything.
keresete ga a re bolelele a ba re tlogela re tshogile re roroma o re ga tshologelo ko bohelong
And the question that's brought before us now is, how do we attain those promises?
yaanong potso e be nna gore wena o hitlhelela jang tshologetse yone ye
Church of God, I do not believe that you will survive these last days if you not study God's word.
phutego wa modimo ga ke na go dikolo ga ke tla go ragale kere ga ke dumele gore tota o tla ema dinako tsa bohelogele gore ga o ithutile go bola modimo
The great controversy, page 593 and 594 of 19:11 says, not but those who have fortified the mind with the truths of the Bible will stand through the last great conflict. It says, none but those who have fortified the mind of the truths of the Bible will stand through the last great conflict. Evangelism page 362 says, let your faith be substantiated by the word of God. Grasp firmly the living testimony of truth.
The living faith.
Have faith in Christ as a personal Savior. He has been and ever will be our rock of ages. Church of God, we will not survive these last days unless and only if we know God's way. The book of Psalms says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet. And it's only through we take time, diligently study His word. For you to discern between the true and false prophets, you have to know His word. As we've seen in Isaiah 8 verse 20. For your faith to grow in the Lord, you have to know His word. In Church of God, we live in an era where there is no room for being complacent and not knowing His word. And many issues are rising, and certain things are emerging, and certain laws are being passed. I would not know what's your say if you don't know God's word. If you read the book of Revelation chapter 15, it says, and I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having harps of God. Mika bona eketile wa tlela se galase go tlhakanye le molelo le ba ba hitlang ba tswa go henya sebatana le setshwantsho sa sona le palo ya leina la sona. It says at the end, will stand under the sea of glass. And only those who had victory over the beast. So the Bible assures to us that there's going to be victory over this beast. Michael will triumph in the last days. And that is an assurance that we're given. Now it's upon you, Church of God. Are you going to accept this mark or not? Do you study the word enough to say, yes, I will accept? I will not accept this mark. Is your life right now in a position where it would say, no, I do not choose to go with the multitudes and accept this beast? I will choose to go with the few who are given assurance that they will be victorious. These are questions we should be asking ourselves at the moment. Where are your roots rooted? Are they rooted into institutions of this world? Are they rooted into His word, into God, into Christ? Christ says this is the beginning of sorrows. We will go through what our forefather, what the martyrs went through. We might lose these bodies. in death as we are persecuted. But the Bible says we will be given immortal bodies, clothed in His glory. Church of God, the question is upon you. Are you going to be among the ones who are saved, who receive this immortal body? Or is your life rooted into the pleasures of this world that you choose to stay behind and enjoy temporary pleasures? Our lives currently, Church of God, will determine if you will accept the mark or not. If you still enjoy breaking the Sabbath, do you believe that you will stand in the last days? If you still enjoy going to certain places of this world and igniting your adrenaline, so in nightclubs and all that, do you believe you will stand in the last days? If you are still here in church, but then after church, when you have trouble, you rush to the witch doctors and the proposed prophets. Do you believe that you will stand and say no to this mark? For us young men, if we still entertain the pleasures of having so many girls, enjoying certain marital pleasure that we should enjoy, do we believe that we will stand in the last days? These are actions, Church of God, that are sinking our roots deeper into the law of the beast, and we do not even see it. So Church of God, let us search our hearts. Like I said, this was just an introduction to this topic. I hope one day probably God will permit us to learn about this number. To learn about where to see it and how to calculate it. I believe if we are given time, if God permits, we'll learn why the Pope calls himself the vicarious filial. Vicarious filial, the figure of the Son of God. These are topics for another time, church. Today I was just my encouragement, or what I want to ask you, is to search your heart. Sink your roots deeply into God's word. It's never too late to turn to Christ. The thing is, we live in a time where we don't know what happens tomorrow. So probably this might be the chance we have to turn your life around. These prophecies are not meant to scare us, but to warn us and also show us the Savior and His plan to redeem and save us. May God bless the reading of His word.